All right, good afternoon. 5 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock. We are live here in Max World on 99.3. KTIA, The Truth. We're having some technical difficulties, so we don't get to hear, it's showtime! But it is showtime. Joe Dallas is my guest. He is the author of a book called Speaking of Homosexuality, discussing the issues with kindness and clarity. You'll be able to hear him speak tomorrow in a conference at Walnut Creek downtown, right on Locust?
East Locust.
East Locust. East 4th?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, Luke, thanks. Thanks for knowing where we're at, Luke. I appreciate that.
East Village.
Never leave it to a senior pastor to really understand where we are.
He doesn't know where we're
the
at.
message that need. How you guys like that coffee? That's my coffee.
You know, it's pretty good.
That's a special coffee. $5 a pound at Hy-Vee. Yeah.
Nice.
It's that good, isn't it? I'll show you the can. All right. Anyway, Joe will be there tomorrow with a conference on sexuality, biblical sexuality, from 8:30 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, then a little break, and he'll speak at the Saturday night 5, 6, and 7 o'clock services at Walnut Creek, and then Sunday morning, 9:15 and 11 at Walnut Creek in Windsor Heights. I believe we have some tickets to give away for free lunch at Smokey D's. It'll be at the Lions Club in Johnston, and it'll be centered around the Caffeinated Thoughts briefing that's going on not tomorrow, but next Saturday. If you'd like to go to that briefing and have free lunch from Smokey D's, call us now or text us now and let us know who your name is, and at the end of the hour, we will give away those tickets for that free lunch from Smokey D's. All right, Brian, tell me some of the people that are going to be speaking at the Caffeinated Thoughts briefing here.
Okay,
please.
Once again, we've got Dr. E. Calvin Beisner. He's the founder of the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation. He is Mr. Climate Change, Mr. Environment with respect to a Christian worldview. Dr. Robert Gagnon, who's the Associate Professor of New Testament at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, one of the foremost experts on biblical sexuality. He will be there speaking to those issues. Dr. Nathan Oppman with the Family Leader will be there as well. Mike Ahmed, missionary to Egypt, he will be there. Reverend Mike Erickson, pastor of Trinity Presbyterian Reformed Church, an extremely smart guy. Full disclosure, he's my pastor. But he's got multiple degrees in theology and philosophy. Very, very sharp guy on worldview. Sue Thayer, Jen Bowen, and Tim Overland will be talking about a culture of life and life issues. And then, of course, we will have Shane Vanderwagen.
Yeah, and that's all going to be next Saturday, the 15th, starting at 9 a.m. at the Johnston Lions Club. Again, 10 a.m.
10, Mac, yeah.
Sorry, I've got free tickets for that lunch. If you want to attend and have a free lunch, and also around that, you can attend the briefing. All right, I've also got Marco on the phone, and Marco asked me if he could come in and really just talk for a second about something he's got going on. And Marco, you're live here in Max World. How you doing, Marco?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Share with my listeners the events you've got coming up.
All right. This is coming up tomorrow, Saturday, October 8th at 7:30 p.m. It's going to be at the Pomerantz Stage in the Olmsted Center here at Des Moines Drake University. And what it is a Liberty tour. They are a couple people hopped on board what they're calling the Liberty Bus, and we're going to have Nebraska Senator Laura Ebke, Dr. Lee Heeb, who was the Libertarian candidate for governor in the last election in Iowa. We're going to have Chris Peters, Dr. Chris Peters, who's the 2nd District Congress candidate here, and then Ed Lopez, who was the vice chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus. So when you're thinking those group of people like the Pauls, Amash, Thomas Massey, Judge Napolitano, those types of people, kind of friendly to the Liberty Caucus there. It's going to be an all-ages, family-friendly event, and there will be food and drink provided for free.
All right, Marco, and again, tell us where that's at and what time.
That is the Olmsted Center at Drake University here in Des Moines, and that's 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night. We just wanted to invite you guys personally and invite your listeners.
All right, we hope to see you there, Marco. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate you listening.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
Yep, thank you very much. All right, 11 minutes after 4 o'clock. At least Frank's honest. He said there's no way he can turn this into a question. So Frank's got a statement, and then, Joe, I don't know how you follow that, quite frankly, but
Okay.
you get to comment on his comment.
Okay.
No, it's
what do you think of the activists who are coming out, Masha Geeson, Judith Stacy of New York University? They're coming out and admitting there's an agenda. And they say that it's a lie to themselves and a lie to others that say that they're out to do anything other than destroy traditional marriage and replace it with whatever, including family members, any combinations of people, any sexuality of people to enter into and exit out of basically at will. They're acknowledging this. Does this speak volumes to you that they're brave enough to come out and verbalize their agenda?
Honesty about an agenda is refreshing. I think, first, in fairness, there's no crime in having an agenda. I have an agenda. I mean, if you want something and you'd like to see it happen, then you have an agenda. And I see nothing wrong with that. I also see a distinction, and I think this is an important one, between people who are homosexual, normally called lesbians and gays, versus those who are either activist or even a better distinction, the homosexual population versus the gay rights movement. Because not all homosexual people are committed to the gay rights movement. The gay rights movement, as I see it, is made of both homo and heterosexual people who are committed to normalizing homosexuality and silencing whoever opposes that normalization. And I think the folks you were just naming would be more in that category. I think they are admitting rather brazenly that this was the idea all along, and they're not the only ones who have done it. There are activists who actually for years have admitted that, look, we are fighting for the right to get married as gay couples, but our intention all along has been to revise our understanding of marriage.
Right.
And to shift the norms of monogamy. That would be a big part of it, and permanence. And so I think that it is a sobering admission on their part, because to me that says this is the boldness of the world in basically saying we are so confident now that we are achieving our goals that we can even be a little more upfront about the fact that what we initially said we wanted was not really all of what we wanted. And so I often say the Phantom of the Opera doesn't take off his mask until the second act. And that's when you really see.
Well, Mac often tells the story about back when he remembers when they said, this is what we want and this is all we need. We just want to visit our loved one in the hospital.
Yeah.
I told you earlier that my favorite Uncle Bill was gay back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I don't know where he was in the lineup, but he died of AIDS before they had any other thing. And his significant other and I had a conversation once. I suppose I was 20 years old in the lobby of the hospital because they wouldn't let him in. And he said, all I want to do is go in and see him. And I'll never forget that conversation, because now the lobby wants everything, including God, pushed out of society.
Yeah, I think there's you got a few things going on there. One, again, it really would be unfair if we are defining all homosexual people as having that intolerance, that aggression, that coercive, what have you.
Yeah, just like it would be wrong to identify all Christian people with Westboro Church.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
Baptist Church.
That would be completely wrong. In all fairness, I'd also have to say that Westboro Baptist Church represents such a sliver of what's known as the Christian population, whereas gay activists represent actually a very sizable group within the homosexual population, and a very well-connected group. I think that we have seen a morphing of what began as a movement for tolerance with some legitimate goals. Even when I was a part of the gay rights movement, really, and I was, in that sense, an activist. I used to debate on college campuses. I used to push for tolerance and fair treatment of homosexual people. At that time, the movement was more about, hey, don't hate us, don't beat us up, don't consider us subhuman, allow us to be equal human beings with you. Well, I think most Christians would agree with most of those goals at this time. But it has morphed now into a demand for affirmation. And I have my own thoughts on that I'll be bringing up at the conference, but I think there's something both spiritual and psychological going on when people are basically saying, I cannot tolerate your disapproval, and therefore I will coerce you either into silence or conversion, but you'll have to do one or the other, or else I'm going to attack.
Do you see an effort to shoot the victims on the battlefield now? I mean, in other words, we wanted tolerance. That's all we wanted. But now they're taking their tolerance to intolerance of anybody that comes against them. And it's like Dick and Betty
Odegaard.
Yeah.
It's the cake makers. They're targeting these people, and they're shooting the victims on the battlefield.
Okay, let's also recognize that when people are being intolerant, they never say we're being intolerant. Persecution never wears its own label.
Sure.
Yeah, it's done in the name of freedom fighting, in the name of justice, And in that sense, I think now a movement that got its foothold into the American psyche, if you want to look at it that way, is now from that position of much more power saying, okay, now we must justly defend people who are damaged by your dangerous, archaic views as Bible-believing traditionalist Christians. And so I think that we are seeing the redefining of hatred and bigotry to include traditional views on sexual morality. And so while you and I think all of us would probably say we loathe the beliefs and the goals of groups like the American Nazi Party or the KKK. We could say, well, that's foundationally evil stuff that they promote. Therefore, we don't sympathize if somebody goes against them. If you can successfully convince the public that we who are traditionalists are in that same line of thinking, then the public is much more sympathetic when the government and the activist movement strip us of our freedom of speech and conscience.
Joe Dallas is our guest. You'll be able to hear him in a conference on biblical sexuality tomorrow at the downtown Walnut Creek Church on East Locust, 8:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Also, he'll speak at every one of their services at every one of their campuses this weekend. When we come back, Walnut Creek Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21 in the afternoon. Hey, Culligan man. Oh, Frank, say it. Just say it.
Hey, Culligan man.
So I bought a new house, and the new house isn't new at all. It was the home show winner in 1955. I wasn't even born yet. And this is a spectacular house, but what I found after moving in is it's got 50, 60, 70-year-old pipes. And they've not run a Culligan system. And I'm going to have some pipes to replace. So the first thing I did was called my Culligan man at 274-2573 and have him come in and put in a Culligan system. Now, we're not going to be able to restore all the pipes to where they were, and we'll replace those. But I can guarantee that in the future, we're going to take proper care of this beauty of a home. Culligan man can remove unpleasant tastes, including sour, metallic, and soapy tastes. Also removes those unpleasant odors, including chlorine and that rotten egg smell. If you live in a brand new house, invest the money to have a Culligan system. So when you go to sell it, you'll go, hey, this house owner, the owner of this house, cared enough about the house to have a Culligan drinking water system. Now, I obviously want it for the reverse osmosis because I drink so much water, about 180 ounces a day. But it's also there for the soft water for your laundry and all those other reasons and the preservation of pipes. So call them 274-2573 and make sure you say,
hey, Culligan man, get rid of that stinky egg smell.
I didn't see that in the script. The only thing that's on the script is, hey, Culligan man. Can you stick to the script?
Yes.
Okay, do it again.
Hey, Culligan man.
Thank you very much. All right, we have free lunch from Smokey D's next Saturday at the Caffeinated Thoughts briefing. And if you'd like that free lunch, just text us or call us at 515-244-0077. That's the phone. Or you can text us at 515-809-0993 and just give Bob your name and number and information, and we'll give you some tickets here at the end of the hour.
Can I say real quickly what we're hoping to talk about at the briefing?
Sure.
Okay. I've mentioned a couple times already who's going to be speaking, but let me ask a few questions that we hope to have answered at the briefing. How should the church and individual Christians respond to the following questions? How do we respond to the rise of Islamic terrorism? How do we respond to things like ISIS, even homegrown terrorism relative to Islam? How about lesbian, gay issues, any political agenda associated with it? How do we respond to that? How do we respond to threats of curtailing religious liberty? How does the church, how do Christians respond to the abortion industry and the culture of death that our courts continually defend? And lastly, how do we respond to a culture that is increasingly hostile to our faith and the truth that we find expressed in Scripture? Those are some of the questions that we hope to have answered for everybody at the briefing next Saturday.
All right, that's the Caffeinated Thoughts Briefing 2016, Saturday, October 15th at the Lions Club in Johnston. And if you call now at 515-244-0077, I'll throw you a couple tickets, which includes free lunch from Smokey D's. All right, my guest today for the next, only for about the next 10, 12 minutes. So if you've got a question for Joe, make sure you call in. He's Joe Dallas. His book is Speaking of Homosexuality, Discussing the Issues with Kindness and Clarity. He'll be having a conference tomorrow, Saturday, 8:30 to 2 o'clock at the downtown Walnut Creek Church. Then Saturday night, 5 o'clock downtown, 6 o'clock Southridge Mall. Where actually is your campus there?
It's in the mall.
It's in the mall, okay. And then again at 7 o'clock back downtown on East Locust. And then on Sunday morning, 9:15 and 11 o'clock, Walnut Creek with 5 campuses across the city to serve you. So Dan Rude, senior pastor, is here from Walnut Creek. This is gutsy. You know, this isn't fun and friendly on Sunday morning. Come to Jesus, give him everything you got, and he'll heal you. This is the probably the most divisive conversation in Christian world. So why did you choose to have this one?
That's a great question. And I think if you look at the culture right now, to me, it seems like everyone is talking about the issue of same-sex marriage and the transgender issue, and then inevitably the question about how are Christians to respond to this culture. It just comes up time and time again, and you hear all this stuff. There's so many different opinions, and churches come out and they say a variety of different things. And just as pastors and as a staff, we thought it would be very important to help educate and equip our people on the topic of same-sex marriage and homosexuality and all these different questions, because the tendency is to be extreme one way or the other. The tendency is to say, oh, this is not an issue, there's no issue with homosexuality at all, or to go the other way and to condemn it just with pure anger and frustration without love. And so we think that the message of the gospel is a message that educates believers on how to interact with the culture. And so that's why we decided to bring Joe in. Joe has been a very good example of what it looks like to love and at the same time speak the truth. And so that is our hope this weekend. It's to hear Joe's perspective from the Word of God on how Christians are to interact with the culture on this issue.
Yeah, and Walnut Creek's got it square on. And if your church doesn't feel that way, I don't know, you can blame me, tell the senior pastor I said this, your church is square off. Sin is sin. I do it every day. I've probably sinned half a dozen times in the last 26 minutes. The point is, I know I'm a sinner, and I repent those sins to God. Even if there's sins that I don't recognize, I still want to be within God's will and nothing else. Yes, there may be some activists out there in the LGBT ? Community that make it hard for us Christians to remember what Jesus said. He said, love the enemy as we love ourselves. Oh, and then that F word, forgive. Because I don't know if you've ever said the Lord's Prayer, but Jesus made it clear that we will be forgiven as we forgive others. And that's not the little kid in the neighborhood that ran by on the tricycle too fast. It's not the paper boy that didn't get the paper all the way up. It's the enemy. It's the one that is invaded. Remember, Paul says in Romans, we do not fight against flesh. We fight against spiritual warfare. And that spiritual warfare will attack the one you love the most. It won't attack the guy in the car that's going to flip you off because you didn't drive fast enough. It won't attack the guy at the grocery store who didn't get things rung up enough. It'll attack the one you love the most, and day after day, I see men and women, good men and women, Bible-loving men and women, Jesus-loving men and women who are taken out because they don't understand spiritual warfare. They don't understand that we are under attack. The accuser knows he loses. He knows he's going to burn his ass in fire and sulfur, and it's just going to be horrible. So he's on his last mission. It's kind of like the football team that's getting ready to lose, and they take a cheap shot at the end. The devil's taking cheap shots, and he's taking out your wife, your husband, your children, your loved ones. And he may do it through homosexuality. Remember to love as Jesus loved. And you want to go to a church tomorrow, you want to go to a conference that will teach you this, they won't water it down. They won't say, homosexuality, we're going to be fine with it. Yeah, it's okay. No, they'll teach what the Bible says, but they'll do it with love. Walnut Creek tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning till 2:00 is the conference. 5 and 7 downtown, 6:00 Southridge, and then Sunday morning 9:15 at 11 in Windsor Heights. Joe, we've got about 4 minutes left. What do you want people to know? I mean, you practiced homosexuality in the 60s. I don't know if it was Jesus that came and saved you, but for whatever reason, you decided that wasn't what God had created you to be. What do you have for that mother, that father who has that son or that daughter who's living that lifestyle out there? What hope, what love, what peace can you bring them that their kids are okay?
Well, Mac, you and I both know we can't promise people what the outcome of somebody else's life is going to be, because we do have free will to contend with. People can decide what they will embrace or what they will resist. But I will tell you this, anybody who knew me from 1978 to 1984 had every reason to believe that I would never be walking in truth before God, because I entered into the gay community as a backslidden Christian who knew the word very well. And I had decided that I was going to try to find a way to marry homosexuality and Christianity so that the two could become compatible. And I was on staff with a pro-gay church at that time, and very earnestly contended for the idea that homosexuality was not contradictory to Christianity. And so that, I believe, was a combination of personal rebellion and a very deep deception. And this is why I say anybody who had known me then had every right to think, well, Joe Dallas is just over the cliff, he's gone. God is the great interrupter. He is still interrupting lives. He still can, and we can pray to this end, make people dissatisfied with what they have settled for. When I pray for the gay community, I don't pray for them as though they are greater sinners than anyone else. I pray that God will make them dissatisfied with anything in their life that is less than what He has for them, and that He'll grant them an increased level of faith to believe that He can fulfill His promise to give them an abundant life apart from what they're embracing, which is outside His will. And there will always be people, I don't care where we go as a country, what laws we pass, there will always be people who will respond to that.
Absolutely. Respond to the good news of Jesus.
Yeah.
It's the gospel. It's the thing that the Holy Spirit places in us, and boom, there we are. Thank you for your work. Keep it up.
Thanks for having me.
You're an inspiration. It can't be easy to walk in those sandals of yours, but
Not
thanks
always.
for doing it. Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for
It's an
doing
honor.
it.
Thanks very much.
And Luke and Dan, thank you guys for putting this on. You're going to get smeared, and you're going to get attacked, and you maybe even have protesters out there, but you're doing it right. You're loving Jesus and doing what He wants us to do. So thank you for doing that. And you guys are always welcome on the radio anytime. Speaking of someone who's not welcome on the radio, Frank, do you have anything else you want to say today?
No.
All right, Brian. Let's give away some tickets here in the next 10 minutes. If you'd like a free lunch from Smokey D's on Saturday, October 15th at the Caffeinated Thoughts Briefing, all you need to do is text us right now your name and number at 809-0993. We'll pull a name out of that batch here in about 20 minutes. Or you can call Jebediah at 515-244-0077. The movie Voiceless is premiering tomorrow. And there are some showings, I believe, tonight and tomorrow. Tim Overland is here from Personhood, Iowa, and we'll have one of the producers of that movie on the phone with us for you to hear his passion, his love, his commitment to this cause of personhood and getting rid of abortion. And by the way, if you think there's anything in correlation between abortion and gay rights, there's not. Except Jesus isn't in either one of them. But abortion is murder. Okay? It's the genocide of an entire generation. You don't think so? Well, just ask the Jewish people what the 40s and 50s were like. After millions of their citizens, their brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and cousins were eliminated simply because they were Jewish. Well, we have an entire culture that is eliminating children simply because the woman and the man didn't think about the consequences of having hot, lustful sex. Okay, I'm pro-choice. Absolutely. Choose not to have sex if you can't take the responsibility of raising it. This, by the way, coming from a child, that's me, who was conceived out of wedlock, put in an orphanage, and spent the first 8 months of my life in an orphanage with no parents. I get to say that. Don't have sex if you're not willing to raise the child. It's a gift from God. We're coming back next with Voiceless, live here on The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
All right, now listen up.
I am Bernie Homs,
and I'm the Service Manager,
Marketing Director, and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
.438, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks to the folks from Walnut Creek Church and Joe Dallas. What a great name, Joe Dallas. What a story he has. You know, homosexual in the 50s and 60s, and then got mugged by Jesus, and then worked real hard to be a counselor to help young men and women who felt that they were gay. And now the mission that he's got in the church, I would strongly encourage you to go to the... it's free, by the way. Go to the conference tomorrow at the downtown Walnut Creek Church, 8:30 to 2. Or you can hear Joe live at any one of their services, 5 and 7 downtown at the East Locust Church, or 9, 15, and 11 at the Windsor Heights Church on Sunday morning. All right. Every once in a while, you throw the feral cat out and hope they don't come back, and then Tim comes back. So Tim Overland here today. From, I'm sorry, that's just having fun with you.
That's fine.
Personhood, Iowa, and we have on the phone, I believe, Jason Jones, who is the producer of Voiceless, which is the movie that premieres tomorrow.
It's actually premiered today, starting today, but we have a private screening tomorrow.
All right. And so we want to hear more from Jason on what this movie's about. Jason, you're live in Max World. How you doing today?
It's great to be here. And when you're talking about feral cats, I thought you were talking about me.
No, I'm Tim. Tim, you know, we're in this shabby-looking office building here in the middle of Des Moines, and every once in a while, this little red-headed cat comes, find its way on the elevator, and then comes up to the top floor and comes and begins and rub my legs and goes, meow, can I talk on the radio? Meow, can I talk on the radio? So there he is.
I love it.
See what I have to put up with, Jason.
Jason, what does it mean to be a producer of a movie? I want to start with that so people understand what it means to be a producer.
Well, you know, I think that the producers are the most important people out in the movie business. The producer, you know, I compare it to to starting a restaurant. The guy that says, hey, we need a sushi place in West Des Moines, and then goes and finds the investor and then finds the sushi chef, hires accountants and lawyers and gets the permitting. That's the producer.
All right, so you're the guy that has the vision, and then you got to go out and raise the bucks.
Well, on this film, I'm actually the executive producer. So the executive producer, I'm co-executive producer, is the guy that goes in and helps find the money or brings the money. I'm often a producer, so I work as a producer, executive producer, co-executive producer, associate producer, depending on the film. But yeah, it's a team. It's a team sport, and that's what I love about film. It's as simple and as hard as opening up a restaurant.
All right, so Jason, tell me this: when was the first time? And it may not have been called Voiceless in the beginning, but when was the first time that this concept for this movie came into your heart, came to your attention?
Well, for me, I've been involved in the pro-life movement since I was 17. I started going door to door, talking to people about abortion when my high school girlfriend's father beat her up when I was in basic training and forced her to have an abortion. So at the age of 17, I committed my life, and I was an atheist until I was 30. So from 17 to 30 as an atheist, I was just really committed to sharing with people the beauty and dignity of the child in the womb and wanted to reach as many people as possible. The idea for this film came from Stuart Migden. Stuart is an amazing guy. He's a Messianic Jew and a very passionate Christian. And he wanted to wake the church up. He had heard that the Catholic Church in every parish has a pro-life ministry. And he wondered why in the Protestant churches and the evangelical churches, it's like 8% of evangelical churches have a pro-life ministry. So he thought, I want to make a movie that inspires the church to stand up in defense of the child in the womb. And so when he brought this idea to me, I have to say, I was kind of skeptical that he could put this project together. And I've been privileged to work with some of the biggest names in Hollywood and some of the most successful, artistically successful, and commercially successful films. I'm like, who is this guy from New Jersey with this grand vision? But I will say, Stuart is the producer, and he put together, to me, I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet, but it is an entertaining, gritty, beautiful film that reminds me of the first Rocky. And what I really like about Voiceless, beyond, it really does inspire people to stand up for life. But as a Christian man, I don't like how Christian men are portrayed in Christian movies. And I think too often we're not allowed, men in Christian movies aren't allowed to act like how we as men behave. And then sometimes we as Christian men try to meme how Christian men behave in movies and on TV, and it's kind of effeminate.
Yeah, I was going to say,
very manly movie.
They get kind of watered down, don't they? And you used the right term. Their masculine is stripped from them.
Yeah, their masculinity is stripped from them. I've had a lot of women who watch this film and say it makes me uncomfortable a little bit. And I'm like, as a man, I hope I make you uncomfortable a little bit. Men are men, and men should be allowed to be men, and women should be allowed to be feminine. And this war against gender, these gender wars, is we have to be androgynous. And what's great about this film is men are men, women are women. The gospel's there, but it's entertaining, it's artistic, it's beautiful, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it.
All right, Jason Jones, he is the producer of Voiceless, also the producer, I believe, of Bella, you said?
Bella, yep.
Which was an incredibly successful movie. Congratulations. Why do you think, Jason, that, and I'm doing the air quotes now, quote-unquote Christian movies are beginning to be seen by a mainstream secular audience?
It's the whole film industry is changing, so Christians have access. I say that we as Christians really should dominate the entertainment industry because we're grounded in the source of beauty, which is God. And Hollywood has sort of severed itself not only directly from God, but also from the sources of that transmit knowledge, like family and community and tradition. So sort of this Jacobin mentality that's dominated Hollywood for the past 40 years. They've been completely severed from beauty. And so you get these films that are sort of like pornographic, that it's just an endless succession of violence and noise and sound and sex and boom, 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 but there's no story, there's no soulfulness, there's no beauty. And so Christians are tapped into that, and there are no longer any gatekeepers. We can produce and distribute films. No one can stop us. And so now if we do not become the culture creators now, it's because we choose not to. Because now it's the wild, wild west in Hollywood.
It's the wild, wild west in Hollywood. I love that. And it's benefiting Christians?
Oh, completely, because, technology, cameras, and to produce, cameras can be very, and, in the old days when you shot on film, it'd be very expensive to make a movie.
Yeah.
But I was just in New Zealand a week ago, and in 1 hour I sat down with some Maori and Samoan and Tongan students, and in 1 hour we came up with a script, and we shot a film on an iPhone, a short little film on an iPhone that looked beautiful. Cameras, you can get some of the highest quality cameras are reasonably priced, and before it wouldn't have been prudent to maybe even invest in a Christian film, because investors would rightly say, well, how in the heck are you going to distribute this film? But now with video on demand and so many, content is king now, so there's so many ways to distribute. You can self-distribute. Walmart, for example, has been a blessing to the faith film market. I know sometimes Christian bookstores don't like them, but one of the reasons they don't like them is because they have become a great place for us as filmmakers to get our films out. They're very eager. Walmart is very eager to take our product. So it's an exciting time.
All right, Jason.
And then you get a guy like Stuart Migden and Pat Nicrato from New Jersey, and they turn out to be brilliant, talented filmmakers. It's amazing.
All right, Jason, hang on. We're coming up on our last break in the hour. I want to hold you over for just a little bit. And so I know that Tim's got some questions for you, and perhaps Frank or one of the other panel members do. Jason Jones is our guest here at the end of the show today on a Friday. He is the producer of the movie Voiceless. It is out today, and there's also a showing tomorrow, and we'll tell you how you can support this movie and also be entertained by it when we come back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth. It's The Truth. 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Good. You do good. Yeah, you can. 4:50, 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, the Friday edition, which is always 15% more fun. Don't forget Caffeinated Thoughts briefing next Saturday, the 15th, Lions Club in Johnston. Smokey D's will have the lunch, and you'll have several good guests. Give us a little who those guests are.
Again, we've got Dr. E. Calvin Beisner, Dr. Robert Gagnon, Dr. Nathan Oppman, Mr. Mike Ahmed, Reverend Mike Erickson, Sue Thayer, Jennifer Bowen, Tim Overland.
And I'm not a doctor, so thanks.
And Kelvy Vanderhart, who is Shane's daughter, an exceptionally bright
she is.
Young gal, a millennial blogger. She'll be there. And then, of course, Mr. Vanderwagen himself.
Yep. That'll be next Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning at the Lions Club in Johnston. And we hope to see you there. All right. On the phone with me is the producer of Voiceless, a movie that comes out tonight. Also, there's a private showing tomorrow. Tell people where they can see it.
We will be at Jordan Creek Movie Theater, the Cinemark Theater there. You can go to eventbrite.com and search for Voiceless in Iowa, and you can get your tickets there. Just get them now. Guarantee yourself you have a seat.
All right. Frank, you have a question for Mr. Jones.
Yeah, you mentioned Hollywood putting more effort into Christian films. There's an old saying that, if nothing else works, look at the instruction book. Is it a little bit of just looking at the instruction book, or is it a fact that they've told the same stories over and over and over, and they're looking for fresh material? Is it one, is it the other, or is it both, that they seem to be focusing more on Christian themes now?
I think it's all the above, but I think what's exciting is not so much that the institution of Hollywood, which is really dying. The studios are effectively nothing more than banks that can finance and greenlight pictures that folks who work with the studio system in a way are not much different than guys like me who are independent producers. They just have banks that they kind of work with, which are the studios that have distribution deals. I think the exciting thing is Christians now, instead of looking to Hollywood, I hope Hollywood, I used to get frustrated. I say, we as Christians are like chirping pigeons begging to be fed, throw us some crumbs. No. Why don't we go and put together projects and raise financing and figure out the distribution? Why don't we passionately use film to evangelize our culture rather than like an affinity group beg that our needs be met by the market? Why don't we use the most powerful form of communication ever, the major American motion picture, to communicate the gospel, to communicate transcendent moral values like human dignity, solidarity, the importance of the family? So what's happening now in Hollywood is you see Christians are finding ways to get these projects made and distributed, and that's what's exciting. The studios do definitely mean that. And often, though, when the studios do it, it's a catastrophe. So the studios see the success Mel Gibson has with the passion, and then they made the Nativity story. The Nativity story was a catastrophe. It was not a box office success. You see Noah. They spent, I think, $500 million producing and marketing that film. They didn't get their money back, and it was really, the film was almost, in my mind, Antichrist. But they don't get it right. So what excites me is not so much the studios catering to us, but Christians producing and distributing films on their own.
Yeah, so we keep it out of the greedy hands of Hollywood, and we make sure that the gospel is told correctly. That's the thing I heard about Noah so much. The cinematography was amazing. Russell Crowe did a great job, but it didn't tell the story. It wasn't biblical. And any Christian who went to the movie said, "Oh, so we changed God's word to make it interesting."
I don't walk out of movies very often.
With advanced ideology, right? Like in Noah, it was a subhumanist fantasy where Noah was a rabid environmentalist who wanted to help God kill mankind to save animals.
Well, and to that point, Jason, I think they tried to make Noah into the first abortionist, late-term abortionist. So, I don't walk out of movies. I go to a lot of movies, and that was about as close as I've ever come to walk on a movie. And that was, Aronofsky or whatever his name is. That was their attempt. I think Exodus did just about as bad. When you've got people who have no clue, to Frank's point, of the source material, and they just go, oh, well, it worked for Mel Gibson. Maybe we can jump onto the bandwagon.
Yeah. Frank?
No, that covered what I was wanting to ask about the eco-terrorism that God was going to destroy the world because man was eco-terroristic.
Right.
Yeah, my review, and towards that end, my review of the film, I called it the Noah bomber. I compared him to the Unabomber.
The Noah bomber. That's cute.
That works.
Jason, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to meet you, but I want you to know you're in my prayers. Papa, I thank you for a man like Jason Jones, and I thank you for his heart, and I thank you for him standing up and standing out. and being just like a disciple that Christ had 2,000 years ago in spreading the gospel throughout the land. And God bless him, and God bless you, Jason Jones, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Well, thank you, and please allow me to thank Personhood Iowa for doing the down and difficult work of working in the trenches to advance the dignity of the child in the womb. And thank, Christian radio is, Christian film would have no leg to stand on if not for Christian radio. So thank you for supporting us. Everybody, go support Personhood Iowa and go see Voiceless tomorrow.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I've known Tim a lot of years, and Tim and I, we don't run in the same circles, but we end up in the same places so many times, and I've never seen a warrior so committed to his passion. And for the last several weeks and months, it's been this movie, Voiceless. And in fact, I'm tired of him showing up at my studio and wanting free airtime. So I'm glad the movie's finally out and I can go see it.
Well, our biggest release is across Iowa, and that's thanks to Tim and Personhood Iowa.
Yeah, it really is. All right, Jason, God bless you. Thanks for being here today, man.
Thanks, brother.
God bless.
All right, Caffeinated Thoughts briefing coming up next Saturday. Tickets available. It's Smokey D's for lunch. If you don't do anything, go for the lunch. And then you'll get entertained and informed and enthralled through all the wonderful speakers.
Ooh, enthralled. I like that, Mac. That's good.
You like that?
I like that a lot.
That's not a new word. You're older than me. You've heard that word before.
I don't hear it around these parts very often.
Oh yeah, I'm here to entertain you, enlighten you, and enthrall you with the Word of God. Ooh. And we never let the Word of God go silent here on the radio. All right, thank you, Tim. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for Jebediah for doing a wonderful job producing today. Thank you, Brian, for being here, and look forward to your Caffeinated Thoughts briefing. We'll be talking about it all next week.
Thanks for coming, for having me on.
Hey, yeah, you bet. I mean, the more you're here, the less Frank can talk. So it works. It's just it's a win-win situation for me. Frank, do you have anything you want to say to your fans right before we go? I mean, they're enthralled outside. They're lined up skin deep. All they want is your autographs. They want a piece of your clothing. They want a lock of your hair. The girls are going nuts, at least the ones over 90. They want Frank.
Well, I was just going to mention, if Mac's World doesn't enthrall you, there's always Frank the Verse.
That's right. And Bob, thank you for being here to watch the Service Legends Truth Text line. All right. Till I see you again. Hey, you haven't done it yet. You hear me say it every day and you ignore it. It probably pains you to have me say it again and again and again and again and again because you know it convicts you. Forgive. Because as you forgive, God will forgive you. It's in the Lord's Prayer. And it's in God's heart. I love you. See you at church.